All right, so let's just go ahead and jump into it.
The good stuff.
Last podcast, I mentioned that we would be running these weekly brackets. And first of all, thank you guys so much because we've got a hell of a lot more voters and votes for these things than I think we were expecting. Especially
way more.
Yeah, considering these first two, we didn't do it with a lot of build-up. We didn't ask a lot of people. We just kind of did it, set it for a week, and thank you all. So with that being said, I mentioned at the last podcast the first two brackets we would do was the best consoles and the best beer style. Now, I will say...
Right, didn't include any of the microcomputers from the UK. Right, why wasn't the ZX Spectrum on there?
I think you know that answer, Jim.
Because we did stuff people care about? Ha!
Because we did stuff that went... Damn it. Stop hating on our English brethren.
Never. Even though they're most of our viewer base.
Yeah. Interesting results with these votings, and what we will say is if you did miss out on those first two, we got two more coming, but we'll get to that in a second. I want to give you guys the results. So, Jim, we'll start with the best gaming console. And I think a few videos ago...
What a surprise.
I was the Nostradamus of this group.
What a surprise.
Some would call me daddy of this group.
I'm not calling you daddy.
But I called it, and it's not like a huge shocker. Super NES won. I wouldn't say it was a landslide, but they won pretty healthily over most. Coming in second, we had the PS2, and third, the NES. Now, we'll go through a few more, but, I mean, just with those three right off the bat, were you shocked at that result, Jim?
Not really. I kind of figured it was going to be either that or the PS2.
What was your pick for the final, Jim?
Mine was the Sega Genesis, Brian.
Okay. Yeah, mine was the PS2, and it actually was PS2 and Super NES that came down to the wire, so... It was a tough go.
And I'll say, like, the PS2 probably really is the best console of all time. So, like, having that as number two, I'm not pissed off to see.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the Super Nintendo, I mean, it has so many all-timers on there that I get it.
It's fully understandable.
It's all the goddamn RPG dorks. That's who voted.
Well, so Jim
Babies.
and
I... there's an opera scene in Final Fantasy VI. Oh, it's so beautiful.
So Jim,
I'm not butthurt.
Jim and I already talked about these results, but what I did say is what he just said, he said to me, the one argument I'll say is in most of the standard Nintendo first party exclusive, like Mario, Metroid, Legend of Zelda, it arguably has the best
of each of them. Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Contra 3, Castlevania 4, Super Mario World.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Super Metroid.
Yeah.
Link to the Past. I mean, it's tough to argue that library.
So just
Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, and that's one that killed it. It's arguably I prefer that as probably my best platformer on the Super NES. It's just me, but either way, none of that surprised us. What did kind of surprise me, so we'll just go through a top 10 because obviously 32 entries, but 4 was the Game Boy. 5 was the 3DS.
That surprised me. It was that high.
The only thing that I will say is the way I bracketed that was I didn't want to put handhelds against any of these regular consoles. So I thought it would get blown out of the water. So I basically gave a whole region just to the handheld games, knowing that one of them would at least make it to the final 4. So I assumed it would be Game Boy or 3DS for that sake.
Maybe because the 3DS can also play all the DS games, then people more went for that. I don't know.
And then number 6 was a Genesis.
16 round 8 votes. That's the most we got.
Yeah.
Besides me putting
number 1.
Well,
there was 190 votes total for the Sega Genesis.
Oh, yeah. So that's what they're highlighting on there.
So then number 7 was PS4, which...
That's a shock.
That shocked the shit out of me because I do love the PS4, and I've said it, even though I play a hell of a lot more on the Xbox One, the PS4 has better games, and it's an actual more true gaming console, if that makes any sense. Has more indie titles, has a lot better exclusives. So
it's a single player machine.
Yeah. So then number 8, the Atari 2600, which
fine by me.
Respectable, considering that had to get through the NES to get as far as it did. I was shocked how often that happened. Didn't happen all the way through, but enough. Number 9, the Game Boy Advance. It's a little shocking. It's that high in there. And number 10, the Nintendo Switch, which
People love their Switch.
yeah, I basically attribute that to you got the system right now and you're playing Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey and you're loving the hell out of it.
Yeah.
The rest of the series, the rest of the results are kind of what I would expect. Some little things that surprised me.
Xbox got beat up.
Yeah, I really wanted Xbox 360 to do better, but yeah, that was number 17.
I don't know if it's your bracket or what, but the fact that 360 is below the ColecoVision, and I love the ColecoVision, don't get me wrong.
No, that's insane. And it doesn't make the most sense, but I think the way that 360 was bracketed, it almost always came up against the PS2. So knowing the PS2 is number 2, you're going to get wiped out.
Yeah, and an N64 at number 18, that's pretty low.
So when I started sharing this bracket with people at work,
It barely beat the Intellivision. How the what? The hell did you make these brackets?
so no, it killed it because it had 116 votes to 52.
It just had 116 low votes, I guess.
No. It's spread all over. This is just generally the highest. If you are reading the results, I say don't read too much. Look at total votes. But yeah, the N64, everyone I talked to at my work, and I said, hey, just so you know, I do these weekly brackets. I started a lot of them with beer, but I said, if you had filled out the game one, which would you go for? 90% of them said the N64, which I was like, maybe that'll be a good indicator. N64 will be higher. Sure wasn't. And the two most shocking for me is that the original PlayStation is number 13. And obviously, I'm a PlayStation fanboy. I didn't think it would be that high. And Sega Saturn was 15.
I'm actually surprised PlayStation 1 wasn't higher.
Really?
Yeah. It's another RPG machine.
Yeah.
It started a lot of franchises.
So,
At the bottom.
Now let's talk about, we'll just say the bottom 3.
How the
Well, you know what? Bottom 4. Because there's one entry in there that really chaps Jim's ass.
Fuck you, by the way, for this.
So the bottom of the bottom is the Atari Lynx, which got a total of 5 votes.
It's something no one had it.
And it was against the Game Boy. There was no way I had to put something against the Game Boy, and yeah, that just lost out bad. Then there was the Neo Geo, which lost out to the Super NES, which was the winner. So nobody had it. Way too expensive. We've covered it enough.
How the Odyssey go above the Neo Geo?
Yeah, somehow the Odyssey got 2 more votes than
First
the Neo.
Odyssey sucks.
But it was going against the Coleco. So it's at least understandable how...
Coleco's way better.
Oh,
than
I'm
the
sorry,
Odyssey.
no. Odyssey...
No, it didn't
That's
go against
even
Coleco.
more
Coleco went
interesting.
against Intellivision.
No. It was Intellivision and Coleco. It was Odyssey and
Atari, right?
Atari.
Yeah.
So it beat Atari. I don't know who would have done that.
A couple times.
I will say the only reason I threw Odyssey in there, in my thinking, was like the true first home consoles we know versus the one everybody knew, like being the Atari. So, and then number 29, the TurboGrafx 16.
1, bullshit. 2, fuck you for putting it against the Genesis in the first round.
I did that strictly
3,
for Jim.
Eat my ass.
I was like,
Rip my heart out of my chest right
I was
away.
like, the two of his favorite consoles. Let's see which one he really's going for.
Kills the turbo just to dick me over.
When you were going down the bracket and you got that one, did you just go,
I texted you right away. I texted you going, fuck you.
Yeah. You know what's sad? You know what beat that, Jim? What's right above that?
The Atari Jaguar.
Yeah. How many people you know played the Jaguar?
No one, Brian.
Enough to beat the goddamn TurboGrafx.
There's going to be some asterisks on that one.
So, thank you guys once again. In total, it looks like we had about 3,300 votes,
Shit.
which that's huge. We love that.
It's huge for us.
Thank you all.